Hi, welcome to this video which explains the main aspects behind the Rebuild Public Sector program. This has been prepared and is presented by my colleague Ivan Sinatar. Ivan is ICC Ukraine's Senior Vice President for the Reconstruction of Ukraine, ICC Ukraine. He will explain what the program covers and its scope, and it's getting bigger every day. He will also describe some of the projects that have already been implemented and who the program participants are. Finance is clearly of major concern to everyone. Ivan will list the major donors and financial institutions that are providing financial support. You will see that supporting countries have been specific geographical areas for reconstruction. They are liaising with local authorities to ensure that any projects are what the local people need. This does not, however, restrict projects to companies from those countries. Projects are awarded to whichever company provides the best offer, irrespective of its country of incorporation. Anyway, that's enough from me. Please let me now hand over to Ivan, who is definitely an expert in these matters.
Dear partners, friends, colleagues, today Ukraine is a country of immense opportunities, a country that, despite being in a state of heavy war for the past few years, is still rebuilding itself. A huge number of businesses, both domestic, Ukrainian and global, have already started operating in Ukraine. They are actually successful. We hold a number of meetings every day, both with domestic Ukrainian business, which, regardless of these difficult times, is developing rapidly and reaching beyond the borders of our country, and with international business. We have a huge number of conversations with both European huge investment companies and private businesses, and America, Africa, and also South Asia. All of these businesses clearly understand that there is a huge opportunity in our country, the opportunity to invest your funds right now and multiply them several times. As the ICC, we are making every effort to strengthen these connections that link the opportunities of our country with the promising possibilities of the entire world. So, as the Senior Vice President of the ICC of Ukraine, Vice President for Reconstruction Issues, I am ready to collaborate with the whole world. With all the opportunities to establish these connections, be very grateful and happy if you pay attention on these opportunities and make the first payments right now, not waiting for the end of the war, but by making Vuchde. This investment will enhance your prospects in the future. Glory to Ukraine!
In this video presentation, I would like to show you that the Rebuild program is already underway. There is a lot of potential for foreign companies to participate. This potential is not just for the short term, but also the long term. I would also hope that if you do see opportunities for your company, you will consider contacting ICC Ukraine. We are here to help you participate in the Rebuild Ukraine program to mutual benefit. Anyway, let me begin the presentation, first of all by explaining why we are rebuilding even as the war goes on. The Rebuild Ukraine program was created to restore the country after the Russian invasion, but in reality, it's rebuilding even as the war continues. When homes and critical infrastructure are destroyed, people can't wait until the fighting stops to have shelter, heat, and electricity. That's why the immediate focus is on key areas: infrastructure, energy, and housing. But rebuilding isn't just about repairing what was lost, it's about building smarter, stronger, and more sustainably for the future. The scale of destruction caused by Russian aggression is staggering, and the Rebuild Ukraine program reflects that with an equally ambitious effort to restore and renew the country. In the next slide, we'll have a quick look at current estimates of the damage that has to be made good, and this is a figure which just continues to grow as Russia continues its aggression. The cost of rebuilding Ukraine is staggering, and it keeps growing. Right now, the official estimate stands at $486 billion over the next decade. That's up from $411 billion just a year ago, a jump of tens of percent. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal has called this the largest reconstruction effort since World War II, with losses already in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And with the war still ongoing, the numbers will only continue to rise as more damage is assessed and reconstruction plans expand. These numbers are so big. Just where does the planning begin? We'll see what is actually being done. The Rebuild Ukraine program isn't just a plan, it's already happening. Reconstruction projects are being launched and completed across the country. As of 2024, funding has been allocated for 151 in regions like Vinnytsia, Dnipro, Kyiv, Mykolaiv, Odessa, Kharkiv, and many more. These aren't just numbers, they represent real impact. Schools, hospitals, housing, heating, and water systems are being restored where they are needed most, and progress is visible. In 2024 alone, Ukraine has already rebuilt a water treatment plant in Bucha, 2 schools in the Vinnytsia region, a children's infectious diseases unit in Zhytomyr, and a new sewer system in Zhemerinka. This is proof. The Rebuild Ukraine program isn't just on paper, it's delivering real results right now. At this point, I think it's helpful to see how the program is being implemented and how projects are managed. The Rebuild Ukraine program is designed to work directly with local authorities, the ones on the ground, leading the reconstruction of their communities. Local governments, village, town, and city councils can apply for funding to restore critical infrastructure. The process is streamlined through the DREAM electronic platform. Communities can submit project proposals with just a few clicks, and the system automates the selection process. It also provides real-time updates on available funding sources, making it easier for local authorities to navigate the process and get the support they need. However, for security reasons, projects cannot be launched in temporarily occupied territories or areas of active hostilities. Applications are accepted only from regions under Ukrainian control, where reconstruction can be carried out safely. There are also key requirements. Communities must co-finance a portion of the project, typically around 20 to 23%, and meet criteria such as having proper project documentation and ensuring they can maintain the facility after reconstruction. In short, the program is not just about rebuilding, it's about empowering communities to take charge of their own recovery with the support and resources they need to make it happen. I think it will be helpful to review examples of some real projects. What is Rebuild Ukraine achieving? The Rebuild Ukraine program is making real progress, with a wide range of projects already underway, restoring housing, schools, hospitals, and vital infrastructure across the country. Education is a priority. In Vinnytsia Oblast, 2 modern schools have been built, giving children a safe and comfortable place to continue learning. Medical facilities are also being restored. The Children's Infectious Diseases Department of a hospital in Zhytomyr region is back in operation, improving access to critical health care. Clean water and sanitation are essential for daily life. In Bucha, a new water treatment plant has been launched, while in Zhemerinka, Vinnytsia region, a 2.64-kilometer pressure sewer system has been built, ensuring reliable water and sanitation for tens of thousands of people. And the work doesn't stop there. The program is financing social housing for internally displaced persons, upgrading hospitals, insulating and repairing schools and kindergartens, and restoring heating and electricity networks. These projects are more than just construction. They are about rebuilding lives and ensuring communities have the essential services they need to recover and thrive. Rebuilding Ukraine is a massive undertaking, and it wouldn't be possible without international support. Many global partners are stepping up to help fund reconstruction, from governments to financial institutions and private donors. On the next slide, we will look at who these friends are and what they are providing. Here's a list of some of our friends. The European Union is one of the biggest contributors. Since the full-scale invasion began, the EU and its member states have provided around 50 billion euros in assistance, including macro-financial support, humanitarian aid, and recovery funds, and the commitment continues. The EU has created a special Ukraine facility for 2024 to 2027 with up to 50 billion euros dedicated specifically to rebuilding and modernizing Ukraine. The United States is also a key partner, and we hope that it continues to be so. The US government has already allocated $1.4 billion for recovery projects, along with loan guarantees through the World Bank. These funds are going toward critical infrastructure, energy, transport, demining, and housing, ensuring that Ukraine can continue to function despite the devastation. The US is also working with allies to expand what's being called a Marshall Plan for Ukraine to further support reconstruction. The European Investment Bank, the EU's financial arm, is providing long-term low-interest loans under EU guarantees. The Restoring Ukraine program actually began with EIB support back in 2020 with an initial €340 million loan. Since then, additional funding of over 200 million euros has gone to 151 community projects, including schools, hospitals, and housing. Another 55 million euro has been approved for social infrastructure at the end of 2024. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development focuses on economic recovery, private sector growth, and infrastructure. Since 2022, it has mobilized over 3 billion euros in investments for Ukraine, with plans for more in the coming years. It is the largest institutional investor in Ukraine, funding projects like railway restoration, energy development, and business support to drive long-term economic stability. The World Bank plays a crucial role in coordinating international recovery funds. It has led damage assessments and works with Ukraine and the EU to identify priorities. Through its various funds, it has already provided several $billion in emergency aid, including $1.75 billion announced in June 2023 for energy, transport, housing, and social services. And it doesn't stop there. G7 countries and other global partners, including Canada, Japan, the UK, Sweden, and Switzerland, are all contributing. The UK is backing $3 billion in loan guarantees, Japan is funding healthcare and demining, and Canada has set up a special account to transfer confiscated Russian assets to Ukraine. Even charitable initiatives are making an impact. The United 24 platform has raised hundreds of millions of dollars in donations from people around the world, proving that rebuilding Ukraine is truly a global effort. So far, these combined efforts have helped accumulate the first 110 billion hryvnias for reconstruction. And in 2023 alone, Ukraine received around $17 billion for priority rebuilding projects. This is an unprecedented collaboration. Governments, financial institutions, and private donors all working together to help Ukraine rise from the destruction and build a stronger, more resilient future. But it's not just about money. Successful reconstruction isn't just about funding. It's also about removing barriers that could slow things down. That's why Ukraine has taken major steps to ensure smooth financial transactions for reconstruction projects. Just to reinforce how wide our international support is, the next slide will show the countries that have committed to supporting Ukraine's reconstruction. The areas that have been recognized as needing support the most are shown on this map in light blue. To ensure a coordinated approach to infrastructure projects, these countries have been allocated specific areas. This allows foreign donors to directly coordinate with local authorities. Exactly how this works, you will see when you view the video, which explains how the DREAM platform works. However, it should be said that under Ukrainian tender rules, projects are open to everybody irrespective of their country of origin. I'll wait a couple of seconds before moving to the next slide to give you time to check out which countries have been allocated which areas. One of the biggest concerns in the past was currency restrictions, especially when it came to paying foreign contractors. But as of May 2024, the National Bank of Ukraine has abolished all currency restrictions on importing works and services. What does this mean in practice? It means that Ukrainian businesses and organizations leading reconstruction efforts can now freely pay foreign contractors in dollars, euros, or other currencies without the need for special permits. Previously, temporary restrictions made international payments more complicated, but those rules, introduced at the start of the full-scale invasion, have now been lifted to ensure financial flexibility for rebuilding efforts. In short, settlements under international contracts can now be made directly in foreign currency, removing a major obstacle and making it significantly easier for foreign companies and suppliers to take part in Ukraine's reconstruction. This is a critical step forward, ensuring that bureaucracy doesn't stand in the way of rebuilding Ukraine. It is also vital to have total transparency with regards to the awarding of contracts. That is why the Ukrainian government insists on using their DREAM and Prozoro platforms. I mentioned DREAM at the beginning of this presentation, and you will hear about Prozoro a little later. Suffice it to say that these two platforms can be accessed by anyone anytime to see what projects are being promoted, by whom, and at what price. They also see who wins any contract. Tenders are open to Ukrainian and non-Ukrainian companies, and the tender processed ad evaluations are the same for everyone. There is little to no room for any corruption. Using these digital platforms also feeds into the general digitalization of the Ukrainian economy and society, removing barriers to trade, improving procedures both for businesses and individuals. Ukraine's reconstruction is not just a short-term effort, it's a multi-year, large-scale process with growing international support. According to the World Bank, the estimated cost of rebuilding, currently at nearly $500 billion, will likely span at least a decade. This means that every year, Ukraine will need significant investments. In 2024 alone, around $14 to $15 billion was required for priority projects, and that number may continue to rise depending on the course of the war and the scale of destruction. International coordination, a united effort. To ensure reconstruction is well organized and effective, global donors have created a special coordination mechanism known as Financial Rammstein, officially called the Multi-Agency Donor Coordination Platform. Through this initiative, governments and financial institutions work together to channel funds and resources efficiently. At major international conferences like Lugano 2022, London 2023, Berlin 2024, and Rome 2025, partner countries agree on financial commitments and necessary reforms to drive Ukraine's recovery forward. One of the guiding principles is Build Back Better. This means that reconstruction isn't just about restoring what was lost, but about modernizing Ukraine, building energy-efficient housing, expanding green energy, and developing digital infrastructure. In fact, the European Commission is already aligning Ukraine's reconstruction efforts with its roadmap for EU accession. Financial outlook: where will the funds come from? One of the biggest challenges is securing the necessary resources. The Ukrainian government is actively pushing for the use of confiscated Russian assets, over $300 billion frozen in Western jurisdictions. If these funds can be unlocked, they could play a crucial role in rebuilding efforts. At the same time, Ukraine is creating favorable conditions for private investment, offering guarantees against military risks, investment insurance, and public-private partnership opportunities. While government and donor funds are critical, long-term success will require significant business investments to rebuild industries, agriculture, and the tech sector, the largest reconstruction project in Europe in decades. There is broad international consensus that Ukraine's recovery will be the largest reconstruction project in Europe since World War II. Financial commitments are already being mapped out for the coming years. The EU's €50 billion Ukraine facility will provide funding through to 2027, and the G7 is working on additional multi-billion-dollar aid packages. Meanwhile, development banks continue to expand their loan portfolios to support the effort. According to government estimates, the peak of reconstruction will come in the early years after the war, when resources will be focused on massive rebuilding of housing, infrastructure, and industry. Over time, the focus will shift from emergency repairs to long-term economic modernization, strengthening Ukraine's industries, integrating into the European market, and making its regions more competitive. Ultimately, Rebuild Ukraine is more than just recovery. It's about transformation. The goal is not only to rebuild what was lost, but to create a stronger, more resilient, and more globally integrated Ukraine, laying the foundation for a prosperous future. We hope that we can convince you not only of the need for your participation in the program, but that you will also see a bright economic future partnering with Ukraine, and that future starts today. It is an enormous undertaking, but the conclusions are actually quite simple. The Rebuild Ukraine program is for the long term, and in order to achieve its goals, different countries and different companies and organizations are going to have to work together. The program has the potential to transform Ukraine for the better, so that something good comes from the horror of Russian aggression. That is why we have invited everybody to be here today, to explain the opportunities and how we can work together to achieve these goals. I hope that we manage to convince you of the merits of participating and working with us. Thank you for watching this video presentation, Ukraine's Public Sector Rebuild Program. I hope that you found this interesting and useful. If you did, it would greatly help us if you could click on the like button and subscribe to our channel to stay updated. Also, please share this video and playlist with your business contacts. We would really appreciate that. Above all else, remember, ICC Ukraine and our partners are here to help. My name is Ivan Sinatar. Together, we can build a better future. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, I'll hand you back to Alexei.
Thank you, Ivan. As always, an excellent presentation. You have clearly explained the huge opportunities and scope for foreign companies participating now and in the long term in the Rebuild Ukraine program. The message, therefore, is that if you think that your company has something to offer, The time to get involved is now. If you have any concerns or need any help at all, please contact us, and I hope to welcome you to our next Rebuild Ukraine biannual virtual forum. Now, following on from this introduction to the opportunities in the public sector, you will see that the playlist provides a series of videos addressing specific topics where we address the practicalities of getting involved. Please feel free to watch these in sequence or just pick and choose that are of most interest to you. At this point, I can only echo Ivan's request that you could click on the like button and subscribe to our channel to stay updated.